take a peek inside the heart of darkness, where we will uncover the sinister secrets behind the criminal empire of Yevgeny Prigozhin. From his humble beginnings as a hot dog vendor to his rise as a notorious oligarch and one of the most wanted men in the world, Yevgeny Prigozhin's story is a tale of greed, corruption, and violence. In this video, we will explore the dark underbelly of his criminal company, its operations, and its ties to some of the most heinous crimes of our time. Yevgeny Prigozhin is a man who has risen from the depths of Russia's prisons to become a key figure in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, in charge of a private army of mercenaries known as the Wagner Group. Prigozhin has been leading the Russian onslaught in critical areas of the war. What's most striking about Prigozhin's rise to power is the unconventional recruitment tactics he has employed. He has reportedly recruited thousands of convicted criminals from jail to fight for his cause in Ukraine, without regard for the severity of their crimes. But Prigozhin's involvement in the conflict in Ukraine is just the latest chapter in his controversial career. He has also been accused of meddling in US elections and expanding Russian influence in Africa. So how did this man of murky beginnings achieve such influence and a reputation for fearsome brutality? The answers are as complex and intriguing as Prigozhin himself, and they have been the subject of much speculation and investigation. But one thing is certain: his story is one that captures the imagination and demands attention. Yevgeny Prigozhin's story is one that could easily be the plot of a movie. He grew up in St. Petersburg, the same city that would become the hometown of Russia's current leader Vladimir Putin. Prigozhin's criminal record began early, with his first conviction for theft at just 18 years old. 2 years later, he was sentenced to 13 years in jail for robbery and theft, serving 9 years behind bars. Upon his release, Prigozhin enters the food industry, starting with a chain of hot dog stands in St. Petersburg. He quickly found success and expanded into high-end restaurants in the city, where he began to mingle with the elite of St. Petersburg society. It was at one of his restaurants on a boat called New Island Sailing on the Neva River that Prigozhin first met Putin. The future president was so impressed with the establishment that he began taking his foreign guests there, leading to a friendship between the two men. Prigozhin's reputation and influence continued to grow. His catering company, Concord, won contracts to supply food to the Kremlin, earning him the moniker Putin Chef. His affiliated firms also secured lucrative catering contracts with the military and state-run schools. Yevgeny Prigozhin, a successful businessman, was connected to a shadowy private military company known as Wagner. Named after the Nazi-sympathizing composer, Wagner quickly became notorious for his brutal tactics and unscrupulous behavior. Despite its alarming reputation, the group seemed to have no shortage of assignments, from supporting dictators in Africa to battling Ukrainian forces in the Donbas region. As President Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine escalated in 2022, the irony of Wagner's mission was not lost on observers. Putin had proclaimed that his goal was to denazify Ukraine, yet he was relying on a group with a name linked to one of the most infamous regimes in history. But for Prigozhin, the founder of Wagner and a close associate of Putin, the group's activities were simply a way to further his own interests. And with his wealth and connections, he seemed to be able to get away with just about anything, even when his mercenaries were accused of horrific acts, such as torturing a captive with a sledgehammer and then beheading him. The world of international politics is often muddled with hidden agendas and shadowy figures lurking in the shadows. One such figure is Yevgeny Prigozhin, a Russian businessman who has been accused of involvement in some of the most nefarious activities imaginable. In recent years, Prigozhin has been linked to Wagner, a mercenary group accused of carrying out brutal acts of violence in conflict zones around the world. He has also been accused of setting up troll farms and bot factories, which were used to spread pro-Kremlin views on social media and websites. Despite the allegations, Prigozhin denied any involvement with Wagner for years. But in a stunning admission in September 2022, he finally confessed to setting up the group in 2014. Despite the allegations, Prigozhin denied any involvement with Wagner for years, even going so far as to sue those who suggested otherwise. The international community has taken notice of Wagner's activities, with the US, EU, and UK all imposing sanctions on the group. However, Wagner is still allowed to operate in Russia despite the country's laws banning mercenary activities. Prigozhin's involvement in both Wagner and the troll farms and bot factories show just how far he is willing to go to advance his agenda. One of the most notorious episodes involving Prigozhin centers on the Internet Research Agency, or IRA, a troll farm that was implicated in meddling in the 2016 US presidential election. Robert Mueller's investigation concluded that the IRA was involved in a social media campaign designed to sow discord and support Donald Trump's election campaign. The US imposed sanctions on both the IRA and Prigozhin over interference in the 2018 midterm elections. Prigozhin's disinformation campaigns have been targeted in the UK, South Africa, India, and Ukraine. Prigozhin initially denied any involvement in these operations, but in February 2023, he admitted that he had conceived, created, and run the IRA. Yevgeny Prigozhin is an elusive figure who has had a profound impact on the world stage. He has shown himself to be a formidable player in the high-stakes game of international politics, and his activities have had a profound impact on the world stage. In February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and as the campaign dragged on, it became clear that the Russian military was struggling to make headway. This is where Prigozhin entered the picture once again. Despite years of denying any connection to the mercenary group Wagner, Prigozhin suddenly began to openly boast of their exploits in eastern Ukraine. Videos posted on social media showed Wagner members in action, wielding an impressive arsenal that included fighter jets, helicopters, and tanks. With no other private military company in the world having access to such firepower, Prigozhin's services were in high demand once again. However, it soon became apparent that Prigozhin's relationship with the Russian military was strained. He repeatedly criticized top military officials, accusing them of starving Wagner of ammunition and even of committing treason. As the death toll among Russian troops climbed into the tens of thousands, Prigozhin took matters into his own hands, recruiting convicted criminals from prisons and promising them freedom and expunged records if they fought for Wagner in Ukraine for 6 months, assuming they survived. Picture this. In a chilling video, a man speaks to a group of convicts with the proposition, "Do you have anyone else who can get you out of this jail?" he asks. "God and Allah can, but in a wooden box. I can get you out of here alive, but I don't always bring you back alive." The man is none other than Yevgeny Prigozhin, the man behind the notorious Wagner Group, a private military company accused of being a key player in Russia's hybrid warfare strategy. In fact, UK intelligence estimates that about half of the prisoners Wagner has sent to Ukraine have been killed or wounded. But why would the Kremlin entrust someone like Prigozhin with their military and disinformation campaigns? One reason is plausible deniability. By using private operatives like Prigozhin, the Russian government can maintain distance and deny involvement in these highly sensitive operations. So how did Prigozhin become the go-to guy for Russia's clandestine activities? According to journalist Ilya Zegulev, who has researched Prigozhin's background extensively, there are several factors at play. Yevgeny Prigozhin has a reputation for being willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. He never refused to do dirty deeds. He had nothing to lose reputationally, Zegulev claims. But it wasn't just his willingness to get his hands dirty that made Prigozhin an attractive asset for Putin's regime. Zegulev believes that Putin prefers to have people with a slightly tarnished reputation in his inner circle, as they are easier to keep under his thumb. And Prigozhin, with his checkered past, fit the bill perfectly. In a rare interview from 2011, Prigozhin revealed that he once wrote a children's book featuring a hero who helps a king save his kingdom and performs acts of heroism. But as you can see, while Prigozhin may be helping Putin save his vision of Russia, his own story is far from being a fairy tale. We hope this video has shed some light on the infamous figure behind the Wagner Group and his ties to the Kremlin's disinformation and military campaigns. So what are your thoughts on him? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content on current events and global issues. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.